what is yoga psychotherapy? What is the role of mind, or like, how do we work on the mind? These various questions could be coming up for most of us, which is why we are having this session. So before we begin, I believe most of you know me from the Yoga Institute, but there could be someone who is outside from the Yoga Institute, and just for that purpose, let me introduce myself first. Let me give you a brief introduction about myself. I'm Dr. Atul Pednekar. I'm a homeopathic physician practicing at Santa Cruz, just a 10-minute walk distance from the Yoga Institute. And I did my 7-day camp somewhere in 1995. And then later on in 97, I joined the 7-month TTC program. I completed it. And immediately after that, joined the institute as a teacher to teach anatomy, physiology, and yoga therapeutics. Then, somewhere in around 2000, the sessions on psychology and counseling were started because they were interesting topics for me. I joined them, and then slowly I started taking those sessions. But then, as I was asked to take the sessions on counseling, I thought it better to learn counseling myself. So I did some programs on counseling, and that is where my journey of these understanding these programs began. And then slowly, maybe around the 15, 18 years back, I started with some small programs, and then slowly it has been developed into these various programs that I'm presently conducting on yoga psychotherapy. And since 6 years, these have been incorporated as a part of the Yoga Institute curriculum also. Okay. So, with that introduction, I now go on to the topic itself as to what yoga psychotherapy would be or what we are going to discuss in this session. Okay. So, yoga psychotherapy for a stable mind and a stable health. So, how the yoga practices can help us achieve a stable mind, and from there, how it can help us achieve a good health also. To understand that, we need to understand two things. First of all, what do we mean by health and disease? And then, coming from there, how do we understand therapy from a perspective of yoga? So, understanding health and disease first, and then what would be the role of yoga to help us achieve this health? Okay. So, all of you must be knowing about it. Health, as understood by WHO or defined by WHO, is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, and not merely the absence of a disease or infirmity. Okay. So, just an absence of a disease is not considered health. You need to be well at a physical level, but also along with that at a mental and a social level also. Okay. So, on one side, if we look at health, can health be seen as a state of balance, and therefore can disease be seen as a state of imbalance? Okay. So, this is a very simple understanding. But then, if we just take it as two things, health and disease, then we will not be able to understand the concept of yoga management. So, to understand the perspective of yoga management, we will have to place some more condition over here, one more condition, and let us call it an indisposition. Now, this is something that I learned from homeopathy. So, what indisposition is again, even indisposition is a state of imbalance. So, even disease is a state of imbalance, indisposition is also a state of imbalance. So, what would be the difference between the two? A disease is a state of imbalance which cannot be corrected by itself. You cannot correct it by itself. At the same time, it can turn harmful if not corrected. And therefore, you need the help of something external, what we see as the medications. So, disease is something which is a state of imbalance, but it needs a medication to help us come out of it. As against that, indisposition is also a state of imbalance which arises from a fault in our diet or lifestyle. So basically, we are contributing to that state of imbalance by having some wrong food or leading a wrong lifestyle. And therefore, over here, it can be corrected by correcting the fault itself. So you correct that fault, and your imbalance will be corrected by itself, and hence it does not need any medication. Now, all of you must have lots of examples of this. Nowadays, obviously, because of the lockdown, the parties, etc., functions have reduced quite a lot. But then, if you just go back before the lockdown, we all used to party, and then maybe in one of the party we eat very heavily. Then what happens the next day? We start feeling very full. The head is paining, or basically we feel very tired, or we just feel uneasy. Maybe you have eaten the wrong kind of food. Maybe you were waking awake quite late, and that coming from there, you experience a state of imbalance. Now, most of the time, we don't need any medication for this. So, suppose you have eaten the wrong kind of food or you have overeaten. Next day, what you do is you just do a simple fasting. You don't eat for some more time till your digestive system sort of corrects itself. Or suppose you are very tired, what you do is you just sleep for a longer period of time. You take a longer rest. And then usually after that, you again feel good enough. So technically over here, if you see, there was no need for any medication. You just correct the fault, you just correct the wrongdoings, and then automatically you are better. Okay. Now, I believe all of you have seen this. Okay. So just to see what it is. Yeah. So I believe most of you have played with this also as a child, or maybe you have given it to your children to play. This is something called as a self-balancing doll. You just push it, and then it again restores itself. It is always in the standing position. Now, if we relate this to our body, can we understand that our body is capable of balancing and healing itself? Okay, and yoga works on this potential. So technically, we are not doing anything. We are just giving a good free space to our body, and our body heals itself. Can we see that as an aspect of yoga management, where we are just correcting our fault, we are just correcting our lifestyle, and the body will heal itself? We don't need usually to give any medication for everything. And then this, from a perspective of yoga, is seen from four aspects. Those who have done the TTC are well versed with these words, what we call as ahar, vihar, achar, and vichar. Okay, so ahar includes your diet rules. So can I check where I went wrong? What did I eat? So the questions to be asked in ahar are: what am I eating? How am I eating? How much I am eating, and when I am eating. So for example, is my problem because of something wrong that I'm eating? Then I need to change that. Is the problem in how much I'm eating? For example, my stomach is full. In spite of that, usually as we go for a function, we eat to satisfy our taste bud. So we keep on eating more, even though our body is giving us a signal that, okay, I'm already full. And then coming from there, usually we may have a problem. Then, how would also include your state of mind. So, how is your state of mind when you are eating? Are you disturbed? Are you worried about something? Are you focused on your eating? or you're watching a television, something else. So that would be how you're eating. And the fourth point is when you are eating. So are you eating at the right time when you're hungry? Or are you eating very frequently? Are you eating keeping a long gap? So that is something that needs to be corrected. The second point is vihar, the recreation. So recreation over here would also mean not only the jolly moment, but also the moment of relaxation. Are we giving ourselves the space to relax? Because our body is constantly working and then it does need some time to relax also. But it could be about my work space where I'm constantly working, constantly standing, and my body is not getting a rest. Can the problems come from there? Or again, as I said, we are eating very frequently and coming from there, my stomach is getting or the digestive system is getting affected. So, am I allowing the recreation time, relaxation time for my system to recreate? So, recreate, the word itself mentions how, in a sense, that relaxation is very important, in which time when our body heals itself. So that is the vihar. The third thing is the achar. Here we can include all our routines and disciplines. So again, as a part of when we are eating, etc. So am I following the proper discipline for myself? Do I have a timetable for myself, or I just keep on doing haphazardly anything anytime? So for that reason, following proper routines for ourselves under a proper discipline becomes very much important. And lastly is the vichar, the thought processes. How are my thought processes, whether I'm experiencing any stress, whether I'm experiencing any tension, any worries? So these are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves. Okay? So what am I suffering from? Am I suffering from any psychological symptoms like depression, demotivation, insomnia, restlessness, strained relations? Are people avoiding me, or am I avoiding people or situations? Do people take advantage of me? Am I an emotionally sensitive person? Do I have emotional flare ups? Am I getting anxious while making choices, or I find making choices very easy? So maybe these are some of the questions that I can be asking myself. Or at the same time, am I having any physical or health problems? Maybe it is an irritable bowel syndrome or any condition related to the digestive system, malignancy, hypothyroidism, asthma, hormonal imbalances, autoimmune disorders, arthritis, psoriasis, obesity, PCOS, and so many lots of chronic conditions. So when we have any of these conditions, how can yoga help us in this, or how do we usually categorize the yoga practices and its applications? Okay, so yoga would usually consider the Buddhimay kosha or the thoughts as the deepest layer of all creations, including illnesses. So according to yoga, the thoughts are the most important or the most deepest level of creations. So all the creations, according to yoga, will begin at the thought level. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Deepak, can you allow others also to just can you unmute everyone if possible, just in case anybody
Yes,
wants to?
absolutely. So you want me to enable them to unmute themselves?
Yeah.
Just hold on. So 1 second, I'll do it.
It's very difficult to work on the mind. Yes. For example, I just ask you. Okay. How many of you get angry? Raise your hand. Okay. So, do you want to work on your anger? How many of you want to work on your anger? Okay.
Yes.
So, drop your anger. Yeah. All of you drop your anger. Can you do that?
Yes.
Easy? Yes, easy. No, it's not easy. Okay, now all of you do one thing. All of you raise your right hand. Good. Lower your right hand and raise your left hand. Great. Bring your left hand down and now take a deep breath. Is that easy? Okay. So now if we see, mind is the most important, but working on the mind is the most difficult. Hence, at a practical level, the mind is also the most complex and hence the most difficult posture to be worked upon. And hence, the asanas and the pranayams function as the entry points to work on the self. So if you want to work on yourself, working on the mind, because initially it's a bit difficult, we usually begin with the asana and pranayams. Okay. So why do we begin with asana and pranayams? Because they are easy to relate with, they are easy to practice, and they can have psychological benefits also. So how many of you, after practicing any asana or pranayams, felt yourself improving at your mental level? Okay. So we know something called as the psychosomatic connection. So what do we mean by psychosomatic connection? That the mind has an effect on the body. And other way around, there is something called as a somatopsychic connection. So somatopsychic meaning there is a connection of the body with the mind also. So when you control your body, the mind can also get controlled. So which is why therefore when we practice the pranayams, then slowly the mind also starts getting calmer. You practice an asana, you do it very regularly with the breath control, and then what happens again, the mind starts getting control. You practice meditation, you focus on your breath. So you're focusing on something physical. You're focusing on the breath at a particular point, maybe the tip of the nose, maybe over here, maybe over here. Then when you're doing it, then usually slowly the mind also starts getting calmer or relaxed. And that is how we can use our body to control the mind. But then, along with that, how many of you have found it that in spite of working on asana and pranayams, in spite of that, you still get angry, you're still not able to control your emotions? Anybody who has experienced that? Or while practicing any asana, you still get restless, you're not able to sit in meditation for a long. And hence, what happens is, because of that, it is also mandatory to work on the mind to help reduce the anxiety and stress so that it reaches a state of balance conducive for the yoga practices. Meaning, if my mind is disturbed, it won't allow me to sit in meditation. How many times when you sit in meditation, the mind again keeps on worrying about all those things? You try to do a pranayam, but the heart rate keeps on going on increasing. So technically, it means that even though it is supposed to help me, it is not helping me because the mind has not yet been worked upon. And hence, especially in these cases where the mind is not getting controlled, the mind is not feeling relaxed, sorry, the asana practices are not helping me, can we see the importance of working on the mind simultaneously? So, two indications. One, if the yoga practices are not helping me, okay, I have been practicing asanas, I've been practicing pranayams for the last 2, 3 years, but in spite of that, I'm not able to stay calm. I'm not able to extend my meditation beyond 2, 3 minutes or so. I keep on getting restless. That is one indication. The second indication is, do I have any health problems, which can be the mind related, anxiety, stress, or it can be at a physical level also, hypertension, diabetes, or the various conditions that I mentioned earlier. So, if I have been practicing the yoga practices, in spite of that, is it that my conditions are still not improving? or maybe they are going on still increasing, then it would mean that the practices are not helping me completely. And hence, I must go a step further, and along with the body, I must also work especially on the mind. And that is where the psychotherapy would work for. And hence, there is a need for a comprehensive program that helps simplifying the process of working on our mind and behavior. Because, as we said, working on the mind is a very complex process. But is it possible to simplify this process of working on our mind and behavior? And then, along with that, there should also be some simple techniques that can help us manage stress in acute situations. For example, it's a simple rule of counseling that if you are very much disturbed, you should never introspect. You will never not be able to introspect. It's not easy for us to introspect when you are very much disturbed. Okay, so the mind has got two aspects. One is the logical mind, one is the emotional mind. So if I want to do any introspection, my mind should be calm, it should be rational, it should be logical. But when the emotions are high, my mind becomes very irrational. I'm not able to think straightforward. And hence, whenever I am disturbed, I must not do any introspection. At that moment, I need simple techniques. For example, right from the beginning, we must have heard of simple techniques like also, you can say, count from 1 to 100, count from 100 to 1, just focus on your breath, or just drink a glass of water. So, just to break that flow of your emotions. So can we see we do different things? At the Yoga Institute, Dr. Jaydev used to give a simple suggestion. When anybody used to come to him and complain a lot, oh, I got this problem, this happened, that happened. Dr. Jaydev used to tell him one thing, okay, just go outside. There are lots of leaves which have fallen down. Just go and pick up those leaves, and there is a dustbin over there. For 10 minutes, just pick up those leaves and put it in that dustbin. Don't talk to anybody. If anybody needs you, find anybody known person, don't talk to anybody, just do the simple thing. So many times these people used to sort of wonder, what is this? I've come to him with a problem and he's giving me this simple exercise. I don't know what it means. But he said, okay, just have the faith and do that. So that person would go and then just do that simple activity of lifting up the leaves. And as you know, the Yoga Institute has a lot of trees, so lots of leaves fallen down. So leaves are never a problem. So they would just do that job, and just 10-15 minutes later on, they would come, sit calmly in front of Dr. Jaydev, and he would ask him, okay, what happened? He said, no, I got my answer. Why? Anybody would want to answer that? I've partly given that answer to you. Anybody? Nerissa, you want to answer it?
Yeah, because the mind is still, so he's able to get clarity.
Yeah. So initially, when he was complaining, the emotions are very high. So when the emotions are high, the logic is not working. But then when you just involve yourself in a very simple job, what happens? The emotions start coming down. As the emotions start coming down, the logic starts coming up, and you're able to see yourself. You're able to understand yourself why that problem is occurring. The important aspect over here is, again, the answers are there within you only. In all our programs, I do not provide you with any answers. I just help you to just work on your emotions. Once your emotions are calmed down, I'm sure you will get all your answers. Okay, so that is what these programs are about. Okay, so that is something about it. So that is the need over here. So on one side, I need to work on the mind, but at the same time, I will also need some simple techniques that can help us manage stress in acute situations, because there are going to be acute situations. And in those moments, if I'm not able to introspect, are there any other techniques which can help me? So the yoga psychotherapy curriculum includes three programs. One, what is called as an emo energy balancing workshop. Second, what is called as Swadhyay, which is the foundation program. And the third is a chakra healing workshop or program, you might say. Okay, so the emo energy balancing workshop, what is it? It's an introductory workshop. So this is the basic workshop which we begin with. It helps us, it is a beginning of our journey to understand stress from a perspective that makes working on it simple and effective. So stress has got different meanings, but not every meaning may be able to help you understand what does it mean to work on it. So is it possible to understand stress from a perspective that also gives us the solution to work on it? We are able to see, okay, this is, if this is stress, okay, and now I know what does it mean to work on it. So we just understand that in the workshop, and then along with that, what we do is we learn different perspectives that can help drop our stress instantaneously without a need to introspect. So in the emo energy balancing workshop, there is no introspection. It is just understanding stress, emotions, anxiety. That's it. And simple techniques, if you just understand those, you don't need to do any mind work. Just use that. You can just drop your stress, like we say, drop off a hat. Okay? Because as I said, the later on two workshops, Swadhyay and Chakra healing, these are introspective processes. But every moment you may not be able to do that. So we need this acute interventions also. Okay? Now, Swadhyay, which is the level 1 program, as we say, this is a 10 session program that lays the foundation of the learning the introspective process to study our mind. What does it mean to study our mind? How do we study our mind? And then what are the infinite potentials within us? So this is not going to be a theoretical discussion, but a practical application of it to understand whether or not I'm able to tap those potentials or not. So it is not going to be a theoretical talk, okay, we have got infinite potentials, but can I identify the thoughts that create an obstacle in the expression of our own potentials? So here we will be taught the introspective process where we should be able to identify those thoughts that are creating an obstacle in the expression of our own potentials. And hence, if I work on these thoughts, which are the obstacles, I should be able to begin my journey towards a better and healthier me. And this is the experience of that potential. Okay. So again, as I said, this is not going to be a theoretical workshop. This is going to be a practical workshop. So we are actually going to identify and work on those thoughts which are stopping me and then experience what is happening to me. Am I experiencing the potentials or not? This is what will happen in Swadhyaya program. And this, as we say, is the foundation program. It helps you understand the process of introspection. Whereas the chakra healing, which is the level 2 program, here we go into the minute understanding of our thought processes. So I've developed a concept what is called as integral chakra psychology, where we study the chakras from the perspective of different emotions. So if you have just heard about it, it's okay. Otherwise, just to mention in brief, there are lots of chakras, out of which 7 chakras are considered important, and every chakra is related to a particular emotion. So in this workshop, we understand every chakra with the purpose of understanding the in-depth purpose and meaning of every emotion which is related to every chakra. What is the meaning of the word, suppose, security, which is related to the Muladhara chakra? And what is the real meaning of the word? What is the purpose of the emotion called as love and compassion? Why is it necessary? And then coming from there, what are the different problems that could occur because of it? And What are the different aspects that are occurring in me? So along with that, understanding the effect of chakras on each other that contributes to the infinite behavior patterns we see around us every day. So even though there are 7 chakras, it's not that I am just one of it. I have all the 7 chakras, and therefore I will have the behavior patterns of all chakras in different permutations and combinations. And as those permutations and combinations go on changing, my behavior can also fluctuate. Now, in Swadhyay, we will be discussing the most important chakra. But as I said, there are thousands and thousands of other patterns also which could be contributing. They would be at a minimal level, but still they would be affecting my behavior, my problems. So in chakra healing, we do like a kind of a microsurgery, you might say, going to identify thought at a very deeper level, and then identifying the behaviors that come out of these behaviors. So understanding the impact of these emotions on our behavior, interpersonal interactions, my career choices, what careers have I chosen, and what if I say that there is a reason as to why you have chosen that. At the same time, even if you are changing your job, there are reasons behind it. If you find it difficult to say a no to people, there are reasons behind it. So, whatever we are doing, there are so many patterns that we are sort of unknowingly following. And then, if anybody asks you the question, you might just say, "Oh, why do you behave this way? Oh, that is my nature." Yeah, how many of you say that? Oh, this is my nature. Technically, no, that is not necessarily your nature. There is a reason behind it. And if you understand that reason, you can change even that. We believe as if, no, this is going to be with me throughout my lifetime. I'm going to die with this. So it's not necessary that it is going to stay with you. You can change that. You have an option. I'm not saying change everything, but at least can I see this possibility that yes, I can change something about myself. Okay? And therefore, over here, working towards realizing our full potentials to create our sphere that functions in harmony with those around us. So in Swadhyay, we say you have all the potentials. You choose for yourself whatever you want to create. You have the potential to create. So over there, we are not putting any restrictions on you. You decide for yourself. But then in level 2, we go the deeper aspects of seeing the implications of every creation, and then how our different chakras are balancing each other. And then, therefore, if I understand that proper balance, and that balance is different for each one of you. So, can I now create something which is in harmony with the world around me? How do I create that? What is my harmony? How is my harmony going to occur? That will be discussed in level 2. And one part of that harmony also, you can say, manifests itself in the aspect of your health, because health is also a creation. If you want to work on your health, you will have to work in the same way. So now there are some points to ponder. Two things. One, in a sense, why a curriculum if the workshops and programs can be attended individually too? So we are giving you two options. One, as I said, emo energy, swadhyay, and a chakra healing. If you want, you can do it one by one also, or you can register for it as a curriculum also. You need to go through all. So the suggestion over here is that if you have a chronic problem, maybe at an emotional level or health level, the suggestion is don't stop at any one level. Just emo energy or maybe the swadhyay. Just complete the curriculum. Only then you will be able to go to a deeper level and then sincerely work on yourself. That is the suggestion. Okay. And the second point is why a group workshop instead of a personal counseling session? So I'm a counselor also, so people keep on asking me that, okay, can you please take a counseling session? I'm not comfortable in a group session. But then why would I suggest a group session? Right? So for the moment, I will not answer that. I will allow some of the past students who are present over here to answer that question because, as I say, if it comes from the horse's mouth, it is better. No, so they are not horses; they are basically nice students who have completed the program. But let them share their experience about these two aspects. Why do you need to go through all the levels if you really want to work on yourself? And second thing, why is it necessary to do it in a group dynamics rather than in a individual session? Yeah, so I think Suraj, you are here. Great. So you have to go early for a meeting. So I will allow you to speak first, Suraj, if you can.
Thank you, sir. Namaste, sir. Namaste, everybody. A little bit of background about myself. My name is Suraj Molani. I first took the Emo Energy Balancing course in September of 2019 and did Swadhyaya in December of 2019. Both of these were at the Yoga Institute. With level 2, this happened in June of last year. So these classes were held over June. The entire program has made a tremendous difference in my life, starting with the Emo Energy workshop, where I was able to understand relationships better, interactions better, energy exchange better. The entire perspective of what is actually happening in a moment with an interaction with another individual just completely changed. With Swadhyaya, I was very keen, very interested. Just the word I felt was calling to me, the opportunity to learn about myself, and I had no idea what was in store for me. I considered myself fairly intelligent. I considered myself very analytical. And if you would have asked me how well did I know myself, I would have said I know myself about 70 to 80%. And there's only a little bit left that I am, learning in the journey. But what I experienced was completely something else. I was able to understand myself on a level where I understood the sources of my behavior, the sources of my problem, the sources of my desires, down to the core values that I held, and it was life changing for me. This was followed by my wife essentially going and practicing and taking Swadhyaya as well. Then we did chakra healing, and that took it to a whole different level, where in level 1 I understood myself, and chakra healing offered me a chance to understand myself again on a deeper level. I was also able to understand my father, who had passed away 2 years before I did the course, and for that as well I'm immensely grateful to the program in the opportunity that it gave me. Coming to the questions that sir has actually posed right now, why is it that we should essentially, as opposed to doing it one by one, which is what I did, why not take up the opportunity to do it together? Well, one is because you really have the opportunity, given these times that we live in, where these classes are, this program essentially is available over online, and you're able to sign up for it entirely and make that commitment. If I had to give an analogy, if you were building a building, then you wouldn't make the foundation, give a break of 6 months, and then build the first floor, give a break of second month, a few months again, and then build the second floor. You would go on it sequentially. There is an advantage to doing that. There's an advantage to really owning up to the situation in your life and deciding that you want to take responsibility for it. If so, the entire program has the benefit to give you that understanding about yourself, if you take it up in a meaningful manner and make a meaningful commitment. And if you're being held back from making a commitment for some reason, ask yourself, why is it that you're being held back? And you will find the answer for that as well when you do the Swadhyaya program. The second point was, why should somebody do group counseling as opposed to take up individual counseling? So I've also had the benefit of now being a level 3 student, where I have started taking counseling cases for myself as part of the field requirements of doing the counseling program. So I've also had experience as a counselor now. And I can share with you that even if I'm able to do a good job in a counseling session with an individual over that 1 hour, that does not compare to the learnings that we've had doing these programs when we've been doing them in a group session. And one of the main reasons for that is that we're able to really learn from the experience of other people. I considered myself as a very private individual when I did the Swadhyaya program. So for the first 2 or 3 days, I was very quiet. I was shy. I didn't open up freely and share. But eventually you realize that even your sharing has meaning, has value for somebody else. And in the similar way, the sharing of other people has value for you as well. So that's the other, that's the main reason, the sharing of yourself as of other people. So from both those reasons, it makes absolute sense to do the yoga psychology program.
Thank you. Thank you, Suraj.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Manvi, you're here? Yeah, Manvi. Manvi
Yes.
is a part of a team also where she conducts part of the emo energy balancing workshops. Thank you, Manvi. Please.
Namaste, sir. Namaste, everybody.
Thanks.
My name is Manvi Asrani, and I am certified from the Yoga Institute since the year 2003, and have been in teaching yoga at the Yoga Institute on and off due to my household responsibilities. It was only a few years back, maybe about 6 to 7 years back, that I had more time on hand. And so, like everybody, even I started doing course shopping and did couple of self-improvement courses just to discover myself, to find answers to my questions. In the process, I also got certified as a life coach. So that just came as an accompaniment to it. But then I came across Atul sir's course, and I must say that I found the course to be a beautiful blend of the traditional Eastern yogic concepts and the systematic, the logical mind of ours, which needs an answer for everything. And apart from the course content, the patience, the guidance that Sir offers makes the entire journey very, very enriching for us. So yes, at the initial emo energy level, you learn about emotions, energy, basic, you can learn to manage yourself. That is what I could do, my personal experience. Basically, I could understand. At the Swadhyaya level, yes, it became a little more deeper where I understood myself. And then I knew where I'm supposed to work. And so the journey began. But still, it was not fully complete. And of course, I had enrolled for the chakra healing, but there was a gap in between. And when the chakra healing actually came is when the actual work began. Because lot of concepts and questions, lot of ideas and knowledge is imparted. Work is done through simple assignments, meditation, group sharings. So group sharings really help us and guide us on a new path. So in chakra healing, I would like to add here that I didn't have any major problems as such, but during the chakra healing, I realized that there was an issue in my mind which was not resolved. So I did the chakra healing in about 2018. And I had lost my mother in 2015. So that had a deep impact on me. And somewhere during chakra healing, that whole thing came up. And with Sir's guidance and going through the course beautifully, I was able to resolve that completely within myself. What I would like to add here is that once that resolution happened at the mental level, I could actually see changes at the physical level. So I had gained about 12 to 14 kgs of weight after my mom had passed away. Gradually, I had gained, and there was no reason why I was gaining weight, and there was no way that I was losing weight. But in 2018, once I finished the course, I saw the curve turning, and I saw my weight loss gradually starting to happen. Also, I had suddenly developed knee pain few months after my mother passed away, and even that started settling. So the biggest aha moment for me was that when an issue in my mind got resolved mentally, I could actually see the changes at the physical level. So we have all heard about the body mind connect, but it was a beautiful revelation for me that when resolved at the mind, the body also changes itself. So the curriculum, of course, has been beautifully designed, because when we are in the course, right from the emo energy to Swadhyay to chakra healing, the systematic pattern being continuously there in the journey, having provoking thoughts that why am I behaving like this, or what should I do in such a situation? Can I just go back to my breath and take a pause? So I think the span of period is something which just helps you to internalize it very much in detail. And yes, as far as the group is concerned, as I mentioned earlier, I did a couple of courses. You are working at the individual level, and so there are chances that the motivation tends to dwindle down. But in the group, if you are not up to the mark, or you're not very highly motivated, but somebody shares a small thing, or even while the session is going on, somebody shares an incident, it just triggers that spark within you and motivates you to start working. So I believe that the group synergy really, really lifts us up and keeps us going on the path. Thank you to you, Atul sir, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of your team also, and for today's sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Malini. Now, just take it from a medical perspective, because I'm a doctor, I would like to also just portray it from a medical perspective. Yeah. So all of us know about various hormonal glands within us. There are different glands. And there is one gland, what is called as an adrenal gland, which secretes a hormone called as cortisol, which is considered as a stress hormone, which goes on to affect our blood pressure, blood sugar levels, sleep patterns, cholesterol levels, muscle tone, immunity, and almost every system of the body. Now, as we saw earlier, the adrenal gland is situated somewhere over here, just above your kidneys. And this is where the cortisol is being secreted. But then if we see, if we go to the brain, there is something inside the brain, what is called as a pituitary gland. And it is this pituitary gland which secretes different hormones, which in a way control the other hormones of our body. For example, we have something called as gonadotropins, which in turn control the ovaries and the testes. Okay. Then we have something called as ACTH, which controls what I just mentioned to you about the adrenal gland. Similarly, we also have something called as a thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH. Most of you must be aware about this when you do your blood tests. So we have the T3, T4, and TSH. So it is this TSH which controls the thyroid gland. So can we see that what we encounter at a superficial level, most of those hormones are in turn controlled by this pituitary gland. And the fun part is, if you go back, trace it back over here right now. So if you see over here, this pituitary gland is connected with another area, what is called as the hypothalamus. Okay, so even the pituitary is controlled by another area called as the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is a part of another area, what is called as the limbic system. And if you see over here, we can see the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is connected to three important areas. One, what is called as the thalamus, which provides information regarding all the sensory status and the levels of various nutrients. So when are you supposed to eat? When should you be feeling hungry? When should you stop eating? When should you drink water? So all that, in a sense, the sensory level inputs they receive over here, and the hypothalamus is aware about it. Secondly, it receives signal from an area called as the amygdala, which is considered to be the emotional center of our body or our brain, you might say. And can be importantly, therefore, also see how the emotions also affect your hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus further on affects your pituitary, and the pituitary then goes on to affect the different hormones at the peripheral level. And finally, it is also the pineal gland which is in connection with it. So the pineal gland, which is considered to be a body clock. Okay. So body clock, in a sense, which can be sort of, you might say, dependent on your daily routines, your timetable, your discipline, whatever, whether you are following it or not. And then again, now can we understand the importance of yoga as working in two ways? One, basically lifestyle management, and second, basically as the mind management. Now, as I said, I'm a homeopathic doctor, but after I joined yoga, initially, luckily, in a sense, first of all, because I came from a very sort of a middle class family, where, in a sense, the routines, disciplines are taught to most of us. We eat on time, sleep on time, etc. So most of us are aware about it. So it didn't take much of a time for me to implement on that. And I would also sort of tell that to my patients also. And then along with that, when I started working on the mind part of here with the counseling, I could see that most of my patients, technically, they did not need any medication. And now I can very proudly say that almost 90% of my patients, I manage them only through yoga. So yoga, again, let me elaborate on it. Two things: lifestyle management, meaning your daily routines, what you eat, what exercises you are doing, whether you are following the proper exercises or not. So that is included as a part of your lifestyle. And second thing is the mind management. So as I said, 90% of my patients, I do not feel the need to give them any medications, but still there are patients who say, no, no, we want medication. Fine, I do give them the medication. But then I suggest them to come down for yoga, and most of them slowly, as they develop the faith, they come towards yoga, and then they have been able to reduce their medications also. Okay, so now what is the objective over here? What is the objective of yoga psychotherapy? Am I asking you to immediately stop your medication? No, I'm not saying that. Being a sort of a logical doctor, I know that it takes time for you to work on yourself. So just because you have joined a program, things are not going to happen overnight. It will take some time for you to come out of medicine. Again, in a to understand what will be the objectives of yoga psychotherapy therapy curriculum. One, can it prevent diseases? Yes, we can certainly say that. If you follow the proper yoga lifestyle and the mind management curriculum, then usually you would be able to prevent a lot of diseases for yourself. Then, if at all you already have a disease, if you already have a problem, yoga can certainly stop or slow down the progress of that disease. So even if you may not be able to prevent something, it may be possible for us to slow the progress of a disease. And even this is an advantage. Okay. So we have seen people suffering from suppose Parkinson's or so. So if have been or in a sense rheumatoid arthritis, ankylosing spondylosis, I'm not saying that they have been able to come out of it completely. Can all of you please keep yourself on mute? Okay. So usually suppose the disease progresses to a particular level in 4 or 5 years, then we have seen that usually it takes around 10-15 years or so to reach that intensity of the disease. So certainly yoga can help you stop or slow the progress of your disease, whatever you could be suffering from. At the same time, there can be a reduction in the intensity of symptoms. You might be able to reduce your medications also, and then often you might be able to reverse the disease also. Okay, now obviously, if you can understand why I have put it in different shades. Anybody who can just say why I've put it in different shades? Raise your hand. Anybody wants to answer that question? Feels like answering that question? No one? Okay, fine. It's like I'm not promising you a moon that okay, you do this program and everything will happen automatically, will come out like this. I'm not saying that. It all also depends on how much responsibility you take for yourself. But certainly, if you follow this program properly, religiously, sincerely, many of them have been able to stop the medications also. Many of them are out of medications. People suffering from diabetes, hypertension, hypothyroidism, anxiety, depression. Many of them have stopped their medication also. Okay. There can be other reasons also. Some of them have been able to reduce their medications also. Okay. Or at least in a sense, the intensity or the frequency of the conditions has reduced. Okay, so it all depends on you also. I'm going to show, we are going to show you the path, what can be done. If you take up the responsibility for yourself, certainly it can help you. We are not suggesting that you have to enroll for the curriculum only. If some of you want to take your time, you can take it one by one also. Fine. Okay, so I'll rest my lecture over here, but anybody want to ask any questions? It's open for you now. If anybody wants to ask anything, raise your hands if you want to ask anything.